Hey everyone, I'm Michael, and this is another episode in my series, A Plant a Week. In this series, I talk about various houseplants. I highlight one for the whole video, talking about how to properly care for it, how to water it, how to propagate it, everything that you need to know to keep your plant healthy and happy. This plant is Sansevieria Moonshine and is a cultivar of Sansevieria trifasciata. It stands out from other snake plants by its pale silvery green leaves that typically lack any kind of variegation. I've had this moonshine for about 2 years now. They've become relatively common, and you should be able to find them at local garden nurseries. I found this one at a local nursery called Vandermeer, which is in Ajax, Ontario if you're in the area. If you're wondering if they're any more difficult to keep than regular snake plants, you're in luck, because keeping this silvery beauty is no different than keeping any other kind of snake plant, which means it's super easy to care for. This plant is sort of succulent-like, meaning it likes well-draining soil and very little water. The soil I keep mine in is a very porous mix with plenty of perlite. I'm pretty sure a lot of the base soil that I've used for my snake plants is actually succulent and cactus soil. When watering, there's really 2 ways to go about it. You can either water them a tiny bit or give them a good soaking. I've noticed downsides for both. For example, if I give it a lick of water, it might miss some of the roots and the stalks will die off from not getting enough water. However, every time I've given any one of my snake plants a thorough watering, 1 or 2 of the stalks ends up bloated, taking on a bunch of water and dying. I've literally pulled up fat, squishy leaves and have them spew water out all over the soil. It's very weird and very disgusting, and it smells pretty awful. In the winter, I water mine about once to twice every month, while in the summer they get water pretty regularly on a weekly basis, unless the soil is still moist, in which case I hold off another week and then check it again. If you give them too much water, you'll notice they'll decline pretty rapidly. Their leaves will discolor and become mushy or yellow, and they just look overall pretty unwell. These plants also like to be root-bound and are known to burst open pots. If you repot your Sansevieria too soon, it might take a while for it to show any new growth, as it typically only starts to push out new leaves when the roots are tightly wound around the pot. One of the things that makes Sansevieria so great is that they can live in a wide range of lighting. While they prefer bright light and thrive in lighter conditions, they can be placed in dark corners. They won't need as much water or grow nearly as fast, and if conditions are too dark, it will eventually decline, but its ability to grow in darker areas makes it one of the few houseplants ideal for most locations. I actually keep this one in an area where it gets hardly any light. It's in a hallway that kind of leads to the big room, which is flooded with light from both the north and the south facing windows, but it doesn't really get a lot of light where it is. Despite that, it still grows pretty fast. As far as fertilization, I've never gone out of my way to fertilize any of my snake plants, and they don't really need to be fertilized all that often. Sometimes if there's fertilizer in my water and I'm watering my snake plants that week, they'll get some extra nutrients, but typically they're not big feeders. There are 2 ways to propagate Sansevieria: division and leaf propagation. As your plants grow, you'll notice new babies shooting up near the larger plants. If you want to separate these babies and put them in their own pot, you have to uproot the plant and snip the babies off where their roots connect them to the mother plant. Then you can pot it up separately and start a new Sansevieria plant. You can also cut off leaves and place them in water or soil and root them that way. I've never tried this method before, but there are tons of videos about propagating these guys. I have heard that they propagate quite slowly in water though, so keep that in mind. Despite how easy it is to grow, Sansevierias are toxic to human and animals. You just can't have it all. And it will cause nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea if ingested. As far as pests go, most Sansevierias are pretty resilient to houseplant pests. However, I have dealt with spider mites on some of mine before. I haven't dealt with any problems on this one specifically, but a few years ago I dealt with a pretty bad case of spider mites on some of my bigger Sansevierias. If you do have a problem with pests though, it's easy to treat them. I ended up treating mine with just insecticidal soap and repotting it into new soil and in a new pot, and it was perfectly fine after that. If you've seen any of my other videos on this channel, you'll know that I love snake plants. They're one of my favorite plants just because of the size that they can get to. I've got large ones, tiny ones, big old fat ones, and super round pointy ones. I just have a thing for snake plants. I like this one because it offers a different look than most of the others. Its pale green leaves and the silvery shimmer it has makes it stand out among the other snake plants in my collection. Might be time to upgrade this guy into a bigger pot though. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for similar content. On Mondays, I post videos about houseplants, and on Fridays, I also post videos about houseplants, and reading, writing, photography, art, and any other generic interests of mine. As always, you can find my social media links in the description below. Also, you can find links to H&H Games, the board game company I've helped create, and our debut board game, Season of Heroes. You can also find the Amazon links to my fantasy series, A Chronicle of Crowns. Thanks for watching, bye!